Aston Martin just turned against Mercedes. And now? 3 more teams have joined them to get the new Mercedes engine banned before testing even starts. Why? Because leaked data shows this engine doesn't just go fast. It gets faster the hotter it gets. Up to 15 extra horsepower. Worth 0.3 per lap. With 0 fuel increase. And no way to detect it during inspection. It passed every FIA check. It's already approved. And it's already shipped to 4 teams. But now? Ferrari, Audi, Red Bull, and even Aston Martin say this engine breaks the rules in a way the rulebook was never built to catch. And they've just delivered a warning to the FIA. Ban it now, or watch the 2026 season collapse before it begins. Because if Mercedes runs this engine in Bahrain, it's not just an advantage. It's game over. This should have never happened. Aston Martin, turning against Mercedes? No one saw it coming. Not the paddock. Not the media. Not even Mercedes. But behind the scenes? Something changed. Because Aston didn't flip out of loyalty. They flipped out of fear. It started quietly. Private engine tests. Simulations. Heat cycle runs under Bahrain conditions. And what they saw didn't make sense. The Mercedes engine was gaining pace, lap after lap. Temperatures rising. But instead of losing power, the engine got quicker, cleaner, more stable. At first, they thought it was a calibration error. But then it happened again. Same test, same load, same track profile. And the result? Aston Martin's car was suddenly 0.3 faster than it should have been. No setup change. No tire switch. No battery deployment trick. Just heat. They escalated the data internally. Engineers looked closer. What they found blew the doors off the garage. At high temperatures, core engine components were shifting, expanding just enough to alter the compression ratio? In real time. Not just during setup. Not during launch. During the lap. That means Mercedes found a way to design parts that morph under stress, to unlock extra power when the engine's hottest and the car needs it most. Here's the terrifying part. It's legal. At least on paper. Because the FIA only measures compression when the engine is cold. And in that state, everything checks out. But once the car is on track, the game changes. Compression climbs. Power jumps. And by the time the FIA gets a look, the engine's cooled down. And the trick has disappeared. Aston Martin knew what they were seeing. They also knew what it meant. If they stayed quiet, they'd be racing with a ticking bomb. A weapon they couldn't control. And if Mercedes locked in this advantage now, it'd be untouchable until the next engine freeze. Which is years away. So they picked up the phone. And that's when everything changed. The first call went to Ferrari. Not a friendly one. Not political. Just a quiet drop of information. We think Mercedes cracked the compression rule. Ferrari didn't ask why. They asked for numbers. Aston sent telemetry. Heat maps. Combustion curves. Ferrari reviewed them. Ran them through their own models. And came to one conclusion. Mercedes wasn't playing with power. They were playing with physics. The second call was to Audi. Still ramping up their F1 project. Still learning. Still trying to understand what it takes to compete. But what they saw scared them. Because their simulations showed exactly what Aston feared. That Mercedes wasn't just gaining power under heat, they were controlling it. They built materials to expand just enough, no more, no less, to deliver free performance where it counts. And the scariest part? It didn't even look illegal. The final call? Red Bull. A team that never trusts easily. But they didn't need convincing. Their engineers had already flagged something strange. In the back-end telemetry from simulator testing, they'd noticed McLaren gaining time in high heat conditions. Not consistently, but predictably. Williams was showing the same trend. Alpine too. All 3? Mercedes powered. And that's when it clicked. This wasn't a fluke. It wasn't setup. It was systemic. That night, Red Bull called it what no one else wanted to say. This isn't just an engine trick. This is a championship shortcut. And that was enough. The 4 teams, Red Bull, Ferrari, Audi, and Aston Martin, agreed to move together. A one-shot alliance. Not for politics. Not for headlines. To stop what they believed was the most dangerous loophole Formula One had seen in over a decade. They started drafting a letter to the FIA, backed by heat data, simulations, predicted lap time deltas. They weren't accusing Mercedes of cheating. They were accusing them of exploiting a rule so deeply that it could destroy the point of competition. And their demand? Simple. Ban the engine before Bahrain. Or risk turning the entire season into a farce. The FIA received the letter. 12 pages. No threats. No drama. Just facts. Thermal data. Combustion profiles. Expansion tolerances measured under simulated race heat. And the conclusion? Clear as daylight. The Mercedes power unit behaves differently when it gets hot. Not marginally. Not occasionally. Consistently. They called it a structural advantage hidden by static inspection. Because the engine, cold, plays by the rules. But the moment it's under load, the compression shifts. The energy output increases. The combustion becomes more efficient, just when the competition begins to fall off. And the kicker? You can't catch it with standard scrutineering. By the time the FIA checks it, it's cooled down. And the evidence is gone. So what did the FIA do? Nothing. No statement. No clarification. No ruling. Just a quiet message to the teams. We are reviewing the matter internally. And that's when panic started spreading. Because the silence wasn't neutral. It was strategic. The FIA knew that if they banned the engine now, they'd be admitting they failed to see the loophole in the first place. They'd be putting 4 Mercedes-powered teams in jeopardy. McLaren, Williams, Alpine, Mercedes itself. And they'd be facing a legal challenge from one of the most powerful automotive groups on the planet. So instead, they waited. Let the noise grow. Let Bahrain creep closer. Let the protest window shrink. But Aston Martin didn't wait. They followed up. Ferrari sent private correspondence. Red Bull leaked whispers to the press. And Audi started preparing a formal protest. Because they knew what was coming. Once that engine hits full heat in Bahrain, the advantage becomes public. And the moment the stopwatch confirms it, it's not just suspicion anymore. It's proof. Bahrain. 43 degrees on track. No wind. Heavy sun. Perfect conditions for one engine. The Mercedes power unit. The one at the center of everything. First car out? McLaren. Calm. Clean. Unremarkable install lap. Then Sector 1? Goes purple. Not suspicious. Just quick. Sector 2? Also purple. Now it's getting attention. Sector 3? Fastest of the day by 3/10. Nobody panics. Not yet. Maybe it's a low fuel run. Maybe it's tires. Maybe they're just flexing. But then Alpine joins. Then Williams. All 3 powered by Mercedes. All 3 running long programs. And all 3 showing lap time improvement as the engine gets hotter. It's subtle, but unmistakable. Their first laps are average. By lap 6, they're gaining pace. By lap 9, they're hitting top 3. No new tires. No setup changes. Just time and temperature. And that's when the engineers from Red Bull and Ferrari step out of the garage. Because they've seen enough. The heat isn't hurting the engine. It's unlocking it. The longer it runs, the tighter the combustion. The more explosive the ignition. The smoother the torque curve. And while everyone else is fighting heat soak, Mercedes teams are gaining time. By midday, the whispers stop. Because the data is too loud. McLaren sits top of the timesheets. Williams is 4th. Even Alpine, the team no one expected, is outperforming Aston Martin. And the pattern is impossible to miss. Every car with a Mercedes power unit looks better, cleaner, more complete. And that's the moment Ferrari walks out of their pit box and picks up the phone. Because now, it's protest time. The Bahrain test ends. The paddock clears. But the tension? Still climbing. Because what just happened on track confirmed every fear. Mercedes-powered teams posted gains no one could explain away. Not with tires. Not with track evolution. Not with fuel loads. The one common factor? The engine. By nightfall, it's official. Ferrari, Red Bull, and Audi file a formal protest. Aston Martin co-signs. The protest cites Regulation 4.7, regarding energy output, compression stability, and material behavior under load. But the real message is much simpler. This engine cannot be allowed to race. The protest includes thermal expansion models, on-track telemetry from Bahrain, projected power curves based on internal stress mapping, and a single warning to the FIA. If this is allowed, we are no longer racing under equal rules. That line hits hard, because it's not just an accusation against Mercedes. It's a challenge to the FIA itself. Now they have a decision to make. Fast. Option 1. Ban the engine. Declare it illegal under regulatory intent. Force Mercedes to redesign with 2 weeks before Melbourne. Option 2. Do nothing. Let the engine run. Let the season begin, under protest, under threat, and under fire. Mercedes is watching. They've prepared their defense. Technical sign-offs. Approval logs. A paper trail showing the FIA knew everything from the start. And if the FIA backs down now, they'll look weak, corrupt, incompetent. But if they act against Mercedes, they face lawsuits, delays, and 4 teams left without a competitive engine. There is no clean outcome, only fallout, and the whole world will be watching. Because this isn't just a protest. It's the opening shot of a war that could define the next era of Formula One. Not on track, but in a courtroom, in the rulebook, in the balance between genius and exploitation. So what happens next? The FIA is reviewing evidence. The teams are preparing backup plans. Legal teams, press releases, alternate engine mapping, just in case. And Mercedes? They're staying silent. Because they know, if they survive this, they win the psychological war before Melbourne even begins. But if they don't? If the protest is upheld? If the FIA says this engine is too clever, too far, too dangerous to the balance of the sport, then Mercedes could be forced into an emergency redesign. With no time, no testing, and no guarantees. So here we are. 4 teams on one side, Mercedes alone on the other, the FIA trapped in between, and Formula One hanging by a thread, before a single lap of the season is even run.